Happy Friday! Welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. I'm Emma and today I've done something that I have not done in years. I just went to the library. I've been meaning to start going to my library for so long, and Read by Jess hosted this whole Library Loves month last month, which was absolutely amazing, and I meant to join in with it but ended up not being able to. That was when I just wasn't uploading videos during that month, but it really inspired me. I need to go check out my library. And I had always had it in my head that my local library was not very good, because I think that their just online catalogue isn't very good, because when I tried to use it, it just sort of like looked like there wasn't really anything there. So I just hadn't really bothered going to check it out. But today I thought I'd go investigate, and I just spent like an hour and a half wandering around the library, really enjoying myself, because it's actually got like a really nice range of books. It's just a nice place to be. So I've got a little haul here to show you of the 4 books that I picked up. I will say, going to the library is... I used to love going to the library. When I was a little child, I used to go all the time with my mum, and I would just pick up basically all the books I read I got from the library back then, and I loved it, and it is so much fun. The way that I read these days is so different. I don't really do that thing of just going to a library or a bookshop and browsing and picking up random books, because I always have such a long list of books that I need to read, whether it's for work or even just like the long list of TBR books I get from watching BookTube and looking on Instagram and stuff. So I tend to just go straight and find what I'm looking for. That's quite hard to do at the library because it's not like terribly well organised. So even when I looked on their catalogue and did find a book that they said was on the shelf, I often then just like couldn't find it there. I'm going to experiment with putting things on hold and just like requesting them and seeing if that's a slightly more efficient way to do it, rather than like looking for ages and not being able to find it. So I think really the library would work best if I just wanted to go and browse the shelves and pick random things up to borrow. And that's kind of what I did with these 4 here, but that's not usually the way that's going to be super convenient for me. So that's the only thing that's really holding me back from using my library more, but I'm going to experiment with this and see how I can make it fit my life a little better. But for today, I had a really fun time browsing, and I have found 4 books that I really wanted to read. So when I came in, they just had a shelf of new stock they just got in. And on there was Believe Me by JP Delaney. I have heard of JP Delaney from The Girl Before, which I also haven't read, but I just heard about both of these books. I don't know if JP Delaney is a man or a woman, but I'm really intrigued to try them out as an author. And then if I like this one, I'll go back and read The Girl Before. So this one is about a woman who gets a job working for a firm of divorce lawyers, where she just has to pose as a random stranger in a bar to try and trap potentially cheating husbands, basically. But then one of her targets becomes the suspect in a murder investigation, so then she has to help the police and basically just keep acting and try and get evidence from this man. So that sounds interesting. So that's Believe Me, and the thing on the front says, "Trust me, love me, just don't believe me." Ooh, spooky. The ones that I did manage to find from browsing their catalogues and then going to search for them, I was looking for We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I've wanted to read this one for a long while. I read The Haunting of Hill House last year and I quite liked it but didn't love it, but everyone says that this one's much spookier. But the only one that they had was a large print version, and it's like very large print. So I kind of feel like that's going to be a little hard for me to read, just because I'm not used to reading. It's very big writing, but also the lines are quite close together, so it's sort of like, to me that looks harder to read, but I'm going to give it a go. And I also managed to find The Death of Mrs Westaway by Ruth Ware. Couldn't find The Turn of the Key, even though they said it was on the shelf, but I got this one. So I've only read one Ruth Ware before, which is In a Dark, Dark Wood, and I quite liked it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was very spooky, but kind of the ending was a bit over the top, and I ended up giving it like a 3. But Books and Lala has read a lot of Ruth Ware, and she kind of said that she kept like enjoying the books, but then they weren't quite as good as she wanted, and kept being like a little bit disappointed until she read The Death of Mrs Westaway, and then she was like, this is the Ruth Ware that I've been waiting for. So I'm going to skip all the rest, going straight from my 1 3-star experience and dive into this, and hopefully I will love this one as much as Books and Lala did. I hope I'm getting that right. I'm pretty certain she loved this. Don't actually know what it's about. Never even bothered looking. I just wanted to get it. Oh, interesting. So it's a girl who gets a letter saying that she's inherited some money from her grandmother. And she's like, great. Except she knows that that's not her grandmother. She's got the letter been sent to the wrong person. But she decides to act and go and see if she can con her way into getting that money. So she's just to turn up at this person's funeral and pretend to be the granddaughter. Interesting. And then finally on my way out, they had another little section just called like quick choices or something, just like random things you might want to grab. And I saw on there Swimming Home by Deborah Levy. Now this book I think is the one that I'm thinking of. There's a few books with similar titles that people have talked about on BookTube. I know there's one called Swimming Lessons. One of them is by Claire Fuller, I think. But Deborah Levy also is a name I've heard on BookTube but haven't read before. So I think this is a book I've heard mentioned, but to be honest, I might have just picked up totally the wrong book. But I read the back and it looked interesting anyway. It's about this family who arrive at a villa in France and there is a girl in the swimming pool. The blurb doesn't give you much information. So she arrives, she's totally naked, walks naked out of the water, arrives in their holiday, and the question is, why is she there, what does she want from them all, and why does Joe's enigmatic wife allow her to remain? Very interesting. Who knows if that's the book that everyone likes, but that's the book I've picked up. So that was my library haul. Very exciting. I now have these books for the next 3 weeks. I'm feeling very proud of myself for using my local library, and also very nostalgic because that's what I always used to do when I was younger. So that seems like a nice cozy weekend of reading ahead of me. So do leave me a comment letting me know what you're planning to read this weekend and if you have a good local library. And of course, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below for new videos every week. See you next time.